Ladies and gentlemen, today is May 3rd, 2017, and I gotta get to the button. This is the KNKL show, episode 337, where we learn to be better artists. My name is KNKL, and I would like to welcome you to another show. Today we are going to be learning about a very important subject, and that is refining sketches. And what sketch are we going to be refining, you may ask? Well, none other than the Metal Slug pool party piece. Hey, wait a minute, this looks a lot different than it looked last week. There were some changes made. Well, yes, I did end up kind of changing the camera angle, but last week, in case you're curious what I'm talking about, we learned about creating thumbnails. You can click up here to go check that out. We talked about gathering resources, gathering references where you can steal ideas from, and then putting them all together, laying out your piece, creating a bunch of thumbnails, some that are going to suck in general, but then eventually you'll get to one that you like, okay? And let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Let's jump right into it, because this is where we left off last week. You guys are familiar with this thumbnail down here. And I did like it. I did like where we were going with it, but it still wasn't giving the exact flow. It didn't have the exact kind of feeling that I was going for. So you know what we did? We did what any good artist would do, and we took a break. We took a break for probably a couple days and just did our normal work, and then we came back to it. We came back to it, and we got to this point on this thumbnail. I didn't create a time-lapse on this, first of all, because I'm on my laptop. By the way, the background, I am still at Jake's. I'll be back in the studio tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next week, and we're looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we're still here in sunny Southern California, and it is hot. It is hot, so if I get a little sweaty today, then please excuse me. But let's talk about this piece. The things that we kind of translated from down here, from this piece, up to this piece. Okay, so what did we end up doing? Well, last week we learned about horizon lines. We learned about horizon lines, and we learned about positioning characters. We learned about positioning and getting our information onto the page, and why that is so important, and why after you get that part done, everything after that becomes so much easier. And this is a great example of that. So, and mostly taking a break. So on my break, I realized that I wanted to push the dynamics of this piece. Now, what does that mean? Everybody says, oh, the piece needs to be more dynamic. It needs to be more engaging. All that technically means is that you want to take the camera and you want to push it closer to the characters. You want to have things like, say, here's a great example. Fio's leg is now right in our face, right? And look at this camera angle. The camera is like down, literally in the water partially, because here's the water line. You can see my little note right there. I want there to actually be a little bit of a water line. And now the horizon line is curving. Now, why is that, Keenan? Are you a master of fisheye lens photo taking and know how the horizon line distorts itself? Or did you just cheat it? And, well, the answer is, of course, we're naughty little artists, so we just went ahead and cheated it. But in general, you can see how it works, because all of these perspective lines now kind of follow more or less this horizon line, or our vanishing point. There's another vanishing point that's way the heck up there. It's off of our canvas, so we don't need to worry so much about that. And now we've set up the piece in a way that we don't need to worry so much about perspective, which we like. We like to not worry too much about creating perfect perspective. And this happens when you pull the camera down so far that it's basically on the horizon line. Now you can really cheat a lot of stuff. You can cheat a lot of stuff. But you do have a new vanishing point, and that's way up in the sky. It's way up here, okay? But in general, that's kind of the idea that I had. I wanted to bend this, and I wanted to push us closer to the characters. Notice how the composition is also changing. Now the characters are much closer to us. We'll be able to get a lot more details in the beautiful faces of Ari and Fio. We're going to have a lot of fun with that, okay? So those are the general notes that came to me, the ideas that came to me. I decided actually over here, speaking of notes, I decided to get rid of the Metal Slug. Maybe I'll put it back in this area. I don't know, eventually. But in general, I really like this location of the crab. And, oh yeah, and Tarma and Marco are going to be up here with their little jetpacks. Remember from, I think it was Mission 5, where you get the little jetpacks, and you're flying in the air. So they're going to be flying in the air, shooting bullets and missiles at this crab, and they're going to be like exploding all over the place. But of course, the crab isn't really care because it's tanky as crap. So anyway, now that we got that out of the way, now that we got the notes out of the way, I want to really tell you guys that yes, taking breaks is one of those things that a lot of people overlook, and it's really quite a shame. It's really quite a shame, because I always get my best ideas when I take breaks. I get my best ideas, And oftentimes I solve all of my problems when I take a break. And this is going to lead us into our questions for the day, because we're going to be doing a cool new... Oh, I like the way that this is turning out already. I like that when I'm up-resing this thumbnail that I have a little bit more room on the top and the bottom, because I kind of wanted it to be that way a little bit. That looks good. Maybe I'll just leave it a little bit smaller, so that way we can create a little bit extra, on the sides for the final piece, and then we can always crop it more later. You don't want to crop too much at first, right? Kind of position your thumbnail to a point where you have a little bit of leeway, especially if you're planning on sending it to print, because you're going to have some details cut off on the edge if you decide to do a bleed print. But that's another conversation for another time. Let's talk about refining sketches, because that's why y'all showed up. That's why y'all showed up. You want to see me refine this sketch? You want to see me refine this sketch? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how I do it. And I'm going to do it live. There's no more time lapses on the show, ever. And you want to know why? Because you guys deserve to see the real deal. The real deal. Oh, yeah. Speaking of real deal, questions. There was a really good question over here. I'm doing questions in a new way, by the way. Oh, yeah. And this is the point where I was supposed to bring up this. So, yes. Questions are going to be handled more like this now. I'm just going to pull one really quick. So one was talking about improving the speed at which they draw. And I think it was down here. Yes, this one coming in from Ravenur, drawing faster. They're asking about what would you suggest to make a piece faster? Can't draw anything fast in 2 hours. Okay, draw in 1 week. I'll go ahead and just take this, and then we'll sketch as I'm answering this question. 1 minute sketches, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So, drawing faster in general. I'm going to take this as a general question, and I'm going to answer that as I refine Theo. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we have our thumbnail that is completed. We have our idea down. We've got the hard work done in a lot of ways. You want to think about it like that. Hard work is done. Okay, the next thing that I want to do before I actually jump into this, shoot, I should have done this earlier, is, well, I guess it's not important that I look at this face. Why the heck not? All right, let's go ahead and stamp that, grab that, copy that, delete that. Boom. All in one good fell swoop. Okay. So, my advice for drawing faster, you're probably not going to like it, Ravenor. Probably not going to like it, because my suggestion to you is actually that you draw slower. Draw slower to draw faster. And what I mean by that is, too often people are trying to take too many shortcuts when they draw, okay? And speaking of which, let's take a look at this. Take a look at this. Prime example right here. I'm still trying. Right off the bat, I'm messing up. I'm messing up because I'm trying to define everything too quickly rather than laying out my shapes. Okay, so here's my first example. If you want to draw faster, then draw slower in terms of laying things out. Learn that good drawings, good pieces, are like 90% layout and planning. And then the last 10% is you actually just going in there and refining it, coloring it, kind of finishing it up, okay? So, and I really like this angle. I really like this angle of Theo because we get to see, the Boobulus Maximus, right there. It's a nice angle. You get that camera down low. It's really nice. So, but regardless, I need to explain what I'm doing while I'm drawing how could I be drawing the most important part of the girl and not explaining my thought process? Okay, so here's what I like to do. I'm going to go ahead and flip this really quick. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking here. And actually, I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to go right into this tutorial here because this is really important. I'm not showing it here, but I'm going to draw out. I'm going to draw out exactly what I'm thinking with this chest. Okay, so let's go ahead and erase this for the most part. So I always like to think about the girl's body as this hourglass figure, right? But it's in perspective. So if we were to draw, think of it as a mannequin. If you were to draw a mannequin in perspective, look at this. So here's the halfway line. Kind of goes up like this, goes up like that. See, and there you have a mannequin. Imagine just like you're going to the mall, and you see those mannequins in the windows. Okay, just draw that shape. And off of that, right, then you can draw the most important muscle. Just kidding, it's not a muscle. But you know what I mean. The Boobulus Maximus. You can throw them right on there. And see how simple that is? See how simple that is? It's drawn in 3D just like that, just like that. It's all ready to go, just for you. Just for you. And you can add on, you know, the other body parts very simply. That's what I'm always thinking. Okay? So let's go ahead and sketch that out real time. So this is another thing that I really like to do. So even though we're not really going to see the bottom part of Fio here, I oftentimes will actually draw in the body. I'll draw in the entire body just to make sure that everything is working properly. Okay? And let's go ahead and draw in. Sometimes I'll even draw behind it, right? Where is the actual mannequin's body existing? So I'll do something like this. And boom, we know that the chest is like right there. You know, the Bubulus Maximus is going to be right there. Looks grand. Looks grand. I love it. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's my thought process whenever I'm creating this stuff. You want to draw it. Think of it as building your body with building blocks. Makes things so much easier. So much easier. Then we can go ahead and bring this back. Let's not forget about our pec muscle. And then the arm is going to come down like this. See, the arm is probably going to have to come down like right around this area. And I'm paying attention to my sketch in the back because oftentimes the sketch in the back has specific things that represent where I want body parts to be. Such as, do you see how this area right here, let me go ahead and highlight this. I can literally feel the heat, man. I am getting so freaking hot right now. But regardless, can you see how this piece right here, I'll use red on that. This represents our hand. So I really want the hand to be emerging from over top of this inner tube type thing, or this little safety floaty. Okay, so those types of things are things I'm always keeping in mind. Always keeping in mind. Referring back to your sketch. Kind of gleaning the subtleties that you captured here, because I cannot tell you guys enough how much genius you guys will capture in these sketches if you allow yourself to take it slow, right? You're going to speed up your drawing by taking it slow. And that is what I am going to end that question on. Let's go ahead and lower this back down and get back to sketching. End that question on. Actually, I really like that one too. Really like the... Again, I like the subtleties that I was capturing in that one. So here's another cool thing that you can do. Say you have an old layer that you liked. Just go ahead and erase that one. Put the old one on. Boom! Look at that. Now you're ready to go. I just like the flow of this one a lot more. It just looks a lot more natural. Looks a lot more natural. And then we know that we want that hand to be right there. So let's go ahead and sketch that hand in for right now. So maybe the pinky will kind of be coming off like that, right? When in doubt, get that pinky out. And then now we know we can kind of erase this other sketch a little bit behind. And we can kind of push that inner tube to where it's supposed to be. So now we know the inner tube is going to be right there. And we know the leg is in the proper position. We know the leg is in the proper position. It's looking great. Looking great. Here's how I like to draw my knees, in case you're wondering. Whew. So hot in this room. It is so hot in this room. Oh! But it is a nice day out. Ugh, it is a really nice day out. It's just a little uncomfortable. But hey, what better weather could we ask for while we are drawing a nice, sunny, hot picture? How I wish I could be at the pool right now. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. I wanted to make it out to the beach while I was out here, but sure enough, every time I come out here, it seems like that always escapes me. It always escapes me. So as you can see, now we are getting our layout down. We're getting some good layouts going on. Okay. Let's go ahead and have that right there. So now we're really starting to lay everything out, guys. Do you see how we are starting to like put in our lines, but they're still very sketchy. They're still fairly sketchy. And that is okay. That is okay, because then we can go in here. We can always go in there and refine it as we go. All right, let's go ahead and get this down. Get this down. We're merely, think of it as like we're almost thumbnailing again, but we're just kind of moving it to the next step. Now, I didn't realize this, but her arm can actually go back here because the inner tube, right? The inner tube would be covering it. So we can just have it do something like that. And I think this arm needs to look a little bit more like that. Very good. And I love the character that I captured in this hand. I really want to hang on to that. Okay, so, whoop. So there we go. Maybe we'll do something like that. And then in her hand will be the drink. Easy enough. Let's get that umbrella in there. And then I want to focus on the face, guys, because that is probably one of the most important places. One of the most important things that I could show you today is how to refine the face. Now you've seen the general body and how I do that stuff. That's also important, but it's not as complicated. I mean, look at that. It's not as complicated as you might think. And that's because, first of all, the body, some things that I think we have going to our advantage here is that the body is being heavily obscured. It's being heavily obscured by, say, this leg. So we don't need to worry about really having everything be anatomically correct because we've got these layers going on. We've got layers. So here's like layer 1. And then back here, we have layer 2, and then layer 3 is the face. And we're thinking about it in terms of those layers, 1, 2, 3. Now you're not drawing an entire body and having it be perfectly proportional. Now you're drawing, some legs covering up, like half this torso and then a little bit of the head. Okay, and I think that when you think about it in terms of like that, I don't know, it becomes a little bit easier. And I think it's because you have already laid out. You've already laid out a lot of your... You've solved a lot of your problems early on with your sketch. With your sketch and your thumbnail. Oh, man. Okay, so now we're on to the face. Da face. So we know our magical hotkey, Control-J. Let's go ahead and hit that. Let's go ahead and get in here and start refining this face. So we know a couple things that we want to do here. There's a couple things that we want to do here. First of all, one thing that I always do, I always look back at, again, the original sketch, and I ask myself, there's something in there. Do you see that? Do you see the face that's actually in there? I see an eye right there. And there is a subtle, ever so subtle expression that is coming through with that. And then here's the mouth. Again, once I draw it over, it looks a little more creepy, but there's something in there. And that's why I want you guys to focus on feeling. Not necessarily what the exact lines are there, right? You don't want to copy the lines, but you want to ask yourself, how does this sketch make me feel? And then I want you guys to try to capture that, okay? That is the one thing that I always do as I refine my sketches. So, let's go ahead and get to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just erase this face a little bit. I'm going to erase this face and this hair a little bit. And I want to pull that up because I really like the way that this face turned out. And I'm just going to start by laying in, I'm going to start by laying in some measurements, okay? A couple measurements here. Similar to how we did the face in the first place. We're going to draw a circle. We're going to draw our chin shape on there. Okay, cool. Now we know that based upon what we learned earlier, way earlier, we were doing measurements. This is back when we were talking about the anime fusion style. We made measurements on Fio's face and figured out how to kind of capture those proportions and her character. And we learned that her nose is a little bit higher, right? Her nose is a little bit higher and her eyes are very low. And the mouth is a little bit lower too. We discovered that with our measurements. So we're going to carry that same thing over with this character, okay? So the nose is going to be a little bit higher. We're going to put the nose a little bit higher, okay? And then the glasses can be nice and low. I actually like where these glasses sat. Let's go ahead and sketch that in really quickly. Now the goal here is, in fact, to, you don't want to spend too much time on it. Just get in there, lay that stuff down, and see if you like it. So let's go ahead and do something like this. Let's go ahead and do something like this. I really like the lower eyes. Let's not fall into the trap of always drawing the same eyes. There we go. And we can have the eyebrows up like this. There you go. And those eyes are nice and low. I like it. I like it. And then let's go ahead and get that smile in there too. That's cute. That is cute. And I think it's staying true to our original concept. Cool. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, and then we can start throwing in that hair there. Hair everywhere. Looking good. And see how easy that was, guys? See how quickly we laid that in? We didn't overthink it. We just we took the things that we learned early on, we set up our piece, and then we were able to speed up our drawing, so to speak, because we already had the foundation laid. We got the foundation set up. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in this hair as well. Make sure we got those sideburns. I like these big, thick sideburns that she had. Yeah! Ha! I'm liking this a lot. This eye is open a little bit more than the other one, so we're going to kind of fix that. That looks great. Looks great. Let's go ahead and throw maybe a couple freckles on there. I imagine Theo has a few freckles. Gotta love that. All right, guys, and look at that. Look at that. It's coming along just nicely. Just nicely. All right, so now that we have the face put in, let's go ahead and get back to refining the body. And then in the meantime, let's go ahead and take a couple more questions. Look, see, it's turning out great. It's turning out great. Thank heaven. Thank heaven, because I'm doing this live. Oh yeah, let's not forget the most important part, save our progress, just in case it all decides to come crashing down. Let's take a couple questions, people. Let's take a couple more questions. Okay, so we answered how to improve or how to make your drawing faster. Again, setup. You want to think about more setup, more preparation, and everything will go smoothly. Okay, coming in from Seraph. The question they are asking is, how would you go about trying to learn how to draw something with a more complex design, even a hairstyle that isn't really similar to anything you've seen before, you've done or seen before? Okay, so that is a good, really good question. How do you go about learning something that you've never done before? And this most often happens to me when I see, let's say, I see an artist that is executing something that I've never done before. Like, I really like the way they draw their faces. I really like the way they're able to capture their characters. Maybe I like the way that they can create thumbnails and capture ideas. Regardless, sometimes I see something that I have never been able to execute before. And you want to know the way that I learn how to do it? I copy it. I copy it, exactly. Or I'll kind of take that idea and I'll try to incorporate it into a new piece. I don't like what's happening here. I don't like what's happening here. There we go. Fixed it. Yeah. Okay, and then we got the collarbone, of course. Can't forget that. Other collarbone's going to be right there. And yeah, so I just copy those ideas. Copy those ideas and try to put it into a piece that I'm currently working on. And then sure enough, I mean, you guys know this. I was talking about just a couple of weeks ago about how I steal from artists. Good example is the Diva piece. The Diva piece, I wanted to execute creating a reflection. So what did I do? I looked up, well, what are the rules that go into creating a reflection? Well, first of all, you got to know where your vanishing point is. You got to know a little bit about perspective. Then I studied a couple photos of reflections, and I kind of checked my facts, checked to see if I was going along the right lines. And then, lastly, I looked at other artists that were doing it. And that was Vash Parado, who had already kind of succeeded in capturing a reflection in his piece. And so I looked at how Vash Parado did it. And then, of course, I stole it. So that's my best advice to you for doing things that you've never done before. I really like how this hair is like really thick. There we go. I want that to be way thicker. Haha, that looks great. That looks great. Feels looking hot. Loving it. Loving it. Next question. Coming in from Apteckle. They're asking, hi, hey daddy. Call me daddy. I mean Keen. The art you make is amazing. Thank you very much. But aside from the art, how do I talk to people? Let's say I'm presenting and I'm trying to land a job. Should I just let the art speak for itself, or should I also have some sort of persona? Okay, I'm going to give you the advice that everyone would give you when you ask them this question. That is, of course, be yourself. Be yourself, right? Oh, you're going in for an art interview? You're going in for a studio interview where your entire career hangs in the balance? You want to be yourself? You think you should be yourself? Well, yes, provided that you are a perfectly confident, well-versed person who has no social anxiety, and you're perfectly okay with yourself, perfectly confident with yourself. Does that sound like you? Well, if it does, then you shouldn't be yourself. No, you should be a person that is confident. You should be a person that is ready to take the job, someone who knows that they have something to offer. And, of course, you guys probably think I'm being very rude right now, but I'm being honest. And I'm not going to leave you hanging without telling you how to do it, okay? So you want to, and by the way, I'm totally distracting you while I draw these boobs. So, we'll get into something that's really important about the boobs while we do this. Okay, speaking of being a little nervous, let's talk about that. So the way that you can go into an interview being more confident, being much more confident, and knowing that you have something to provide to the team is, well, what did I do when I started to go into Riot Games? I got everything ready. I made sure that nothing was going to be left to chance because I knew that my entire life I had been working to get this chance, and now it was showing itself. And do you think that I was just going to go in there and be myself? The Keenan that could barely talk to himself in the mirror? The Keenan that could barely look at himself in the mirror, let alone talk to a stranger? Heck no, I wasn't going to do that. I was going to make sure I knew exactly how that interview was going to go. And so, the day before the interview, and by the way, let me teach you something really cool about boobs. So something important that happens, especially in a bikini like this, is you don't want to make it overly tight, but there's a little bit of a suppleness to the flesh that happens right here, right at the edge where it hits. And you want to make sure, right, that you show that suppleness by creating a little bit of an indentation where the fabric meets the skin. Okay, so that's what I'm doing there. In case you're curious, I know you're watching. So I made sure I knew exactly where the studio was. I looked up the address for it, and I drove there the day before. And then I planned out, okay, because LA has traffic all the time. So I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to let traffic get in the way. Am I going to show up an hour early to the interview? No. Am I going to show up 2 hours early? No. 3 hours? Maybe. I showed up 4 hours early for my interview. I think my interview was at like 1, and I got there at like 9. Okay? And so I was sitting in my car. And did I get bored? Yes. Did I regret coming that early? Well, maybe a little bit. But again, it comes down to you're not leaving anything to chance. And then, once you start doing that type of thing, once you start playing like that, start playing that type of game, then all of a sudden your confidence starts to show up just on its own. It starts to show up on its own. We like that. We like it when our confidence shows up. Let's go ahead and get that on there. Let's see. That string, the bikini string, would probably be kind of like... I think we're at that perfect angle where we're actually going to see it kind of sit across. It's going to go across right here and right there. Oh, that is awesome. That is a very sexy angle. I like that. But yeah, I did not leave anything to chance. And when I showed up, I had my portfolio all set up. I didn't come with a thumb drive and say, hey, plug this into a computer that I hope you have and display it on a projector or a screen that I hope you have. It's like, no, I printed everything out physically in a portfolio that I could take to them, show them one by one. I knew exactly what the spiel was going to be. And of course, I didn't know what they were going to say, But, you know, the times where you want to be yourself, of course, is when they're just asking you your personal questions. But eliminate all the other instances where you may lose control, where you might, like, example, you go in with your thumb drive, and then they're like, oh, yeah, let's just pull this up on your computer, and you're in an office room that doesn't have a computer. Or you're like, oh, you can just check me out on my website, and your website is down. Or, you know, it's like you don't want any of that stuff to happen, because then that totally throws you off guard, and then you're just going to go into your, you know, usual hiding under the rock state, and then you are in a position where you're going to look dumb. So don't do that. Get rid of all that stuff. Get rid of all those chances that you might do that. Okay? Man, this is looking great. I love it. Few things make an artist feel good than when he knows how to draw some proper Librubulus Maximus. All right. Cool. It's looking grand. All right. That's definitely an improvement over the last Metal Slug piece. Theo's boobs in the last piece, they look really not good. Don't go look at that piece if you haven't seen it already. Just don't look at it. Next question coming up from Kapika Arts. Great question coming in. Dead set on becoming a professional artist and have already done some commissions, traditional and digital. Main problem is that I'm really struggling to choose which to focus on. My styles are so different in each medium. Any tips? Okay, so this is something that I worried about a little bit. This is something that I worried about just a tiny bit. And that was, man, I feel like my style, I'm going to go ahead and Control J this. I feel like my styles are all over the place. I should probably focus on one. Otherwise, I'm going to be spread too thin. But you know what I found out? That's just not the case. Every single style of art or venture that you decide to embark upon is going to teach you something. It's going to teach you something, and that is going to help you with everything else. Every art form, everything that you're going to do to express yourself. Do I want it like that, or do I like it better up? I think I actually like it better with the visor up. I know I wanted this visor to be pretty low down, but I think it's low down enough as it is. But no matter what you do, even speaking, learning to speak publicly, or creating a show, all that stuff is going to help you, because it's all things that are, they're skills that you're building for yourself. And when you build skills, people are going to want them. You become valuable. And when you have skills and people want you on their team, that gives you confidence. And that is probably like one of the most important skills that you could ever have. It's confidence in your work, confidence in yourself. So I would suggest that if you're feeling like you're afraid that you're spreading yourself too thin, don't feel that way at all. Just know that in time, your own style will come. And it's actually really good to be versatile. It's very good to be versatile. You should know how to draw giant, muscly, superhero dudes as much as you know how to draw sexy ladies. Those things are both equally important. Actually, I would argue sexy ladies are more important, because you'd be surprised at how many people nowadays, I actually think a lot of artists are starting to catch on to this, and they're just getting a lot better at drawing like pinup style drawings. Pinup style, like pretty ladies, pretty proportions. There's a lot of artists out there that do it really well, and we're studying them. We're getting better at it. But now the real challenge comes. And that is, how do I make my girls look pretty, but not Barbie-faced, right? How do I make them not look all the same? How do I create beauty in a way that is still has character, it still has uniqueness to it? And this is a terrible, terrible tangent. Look at this tangent. We're gonna have to fix this. Okay, look how the edge of the hand is lining up perfectly with the edge of the body. This is a bad, bad tangent. Very, very bad. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna take this hand and we're going to move it. We're going to move it over. So that way, the hand is clearly overlapping the body. Oh, isn't that nice? I love it. Love it, people. So yeah, don't feel ever like you're stretching yourself too thin. However, if there is a specific thing that you're wanting to get into, i.e. concept art, then make sure that you're not kidding yourself and learning the skills that you're going to need to become a concept artist. You need to learn how to work with values. You need to learn principles of design. You need to learn what a motif was. I didn't know what the heck a motif was until after I had joined Riot Games, but luckily I had coworkers there that were much smarter than me. And so they taught me. They taught me about motifs. They taught me how they create They taught me how they create concepts and do turnarounds. I was already pretty good at doing turnarounds. Like I could look at something and draw it from a different angle. I was pretty good at that already. But what I had still yet to learn was how to design things, how to properly design something. That is looking great. And see how I don't even bother. This is another thing that's really important, guys. Is see how I don't even bother like drawing in the fingers or figuring out how these are going to look. I save that for the end. Look at this hand up here. Look at how it's just a shape. It's just a shape. There's this finger, then this shape, which represents the 2 middle fingers, and then the index finger. Like, I just leave it like that. Yet, do you notice how when you look at that, there's so much flow to it, and it has the feeling that we're going for. Remember that? I always want you guys to be thinking about that word, feeling. I want you guys to be chasing that. Chase that feeling. Chase the feeling of your sketch. Chase the feeling of the shapes that create your hand. Those types of things. And you're going to have yourself a good time with that. All right. Ooh, this is looking so great. Really, really liking this. Let's see. Is there anything else that I want to do with Theo? I think I want to kind of erase this a little bit so we get a little bit of her iris in there. I think that'll look nice. Yeah, looks great. Does she have a little eyelash? She does have little eyelashes. Let's go and put them at the bottom. Awesome, people. Let's go ahead and move on to the next couple questions. And then we're going to end today. Ooh, like that. Like that a lot. I'll add in a little bit of value just for the heck of it. Then we're going to end. Alrighty. Next question coming in. Baro-san. Hi, man. I just made an account to ask you this. How do you find your own style? Okay, great question. Let's go ahead and paraphrase this really quick. Struck by how cool anime. He loves anime, cute girls, the way you draw eyes. He likes that stuff. He feels the urge to just copy them. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Start by copying. Start by just, figuring out what I'm doing. Ask yourself, hey, why does this, hopefully you're saying this face looks good, but ask yourself, why does that face look good? Well, maybe it's because I took a moment to kind of measure some things out early on. Remember how we were learning about proportions? We were learning how to draw the face and chin shape. We were making measurements so that we could capture the same character. Those types of things. Steal all that. That's why I'm teaching you this. I want you guys to steal my style, steal my techniques. And then in your own time, you're going to see another artist that you really like. Or, not saying that that came out wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of artists that you look at that you love. And naturally, you're going to steal from all of them. And as you do that, you're going to cram all that stuff together, what you think is the best of everyone, and you're going to create your own style. Okay? And that's how I did it. That's my answer to the question. That's how I found my style. I watched a lot of people that were better than me, people that I wanted to be like, and slowly but surely, I just studied what I wanted to. I studied what I wanted to, and I got good at it. Okay? And I mishmashed a bunch of stuff together. Okay, last couple questions coming in from Azura. Azura. I just realized I've been drawing this entire time with... Oh, no! Oh, I'm so happy that... Okay. I think that is something that I could actually live with. Normally, this is the point where I would start the entire thing over again because I would be so pissed off. But you know what? I am so sweaty and it's so hot out here that I don't think that I could do a better job. And plus, you guys are all about that candid stuff. We're all about that, those mistakes. So there you go. There's no problem. There's no problem. This one coming in from Aurora. This entire episode has been dedicated to IMSI, right? All the people that are submitting your awesome questions on IMSI, which have been really awesome. So thank you guys so much. All right. They're asking, what does KNKL stand for? Okay, I get this question a lot. It is, in fact, Knockwurst, my old alias, like a German sausage, Knockwurst. With KL, Keenan Lafferty. So it's Knockwurst, Keenan Lafferty, all together, KNKL. Some people call it Knuckle, Kinkle. I personally don't like Kinkle, but it sounds like Kankle. But anyway, last question coming in from Arrow Brick Builder. They're asking, looking for my advice is the problem I'm personally seeing in my work. Sketch a lot, but it seems like all my work relies on me going over the same section several times. Takes a ton of thick and accurate lines. I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so it's a great question to end on because Arrow Brick Builder, I hope that you've noticed that look at where we started. This is where my drawings start. They're always very thick. They're very crazy and sketchy early on. And before that, it was even more sketchy. Look at this. Yet, there's so much flavor here. There's so much that our mind... And here's why. Here's why you're able to look at this and you like it. It's because our mind is filling in so many blanks. Our mind is filling in so many blanks and making it look the way that we want it to, because there's a lot that's missing there. It's not spelt out for us. So think of it as this is more symbolic, and now your mind is able to sculpt it into exactly what it wants to see. And that's why it's giving us that feeling that we're chasing, the feeling that we're chasing. And then I start with something like this, trying to lay it out, try to refine it, but all the while I'm turning it back off, referring back to that original sketch. And then I refine, and then eventually we get to this point. And each time I'm hitting Control-J, I am going in there and I'm kind of skinnying up my lines, making them thinner. Because obviously that just makes it look a lot tighter and nicer. So make sure you guys get in there, do that stuff. And that is probably going to end it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. We refined the most important part. I'm good with that. I'm good with ending on that. Alrighty, people. So, thank you guys so much for joining me on YouTube. As always, thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. If you would like to download today's PSD, if you'd like to take a look at all these layers for yourself, I saved these old crappy ones. So you can go in there and look at all the mistakes that I made. And yeah, if you want to download this, just click up here. It'll take you over to Patreon, where I think this is actually our 100th PSD. So yes, not only this PSD is available for download, but all the other PSDs from the past. And yeah, there's 100 of them, people. 100 of them. So get on there. I appreciate you guys, everybody who has been supporting the show. And actually, I want to take a moment. Since this has been a very good experience for me coming out here, getting a breath of fresh air, getting a breath of hot air, and it's like really, the weather here is much different than where it's at in Utah right now. When I left, it was like cloudy and super rainy and cold and not very comfortable. But out here, it's like the weather is hot, nice. The air is like super clear, and it feels good. But I'm going to be going back soon. And while I've been out here, it's given me some time to think. And some crazy things, like you guys must have been all going out and telling your friends, like your freaking grandma, your entire family about the show, because we have gained so much traction. The show is now getting a ton more traction, and I have you guys to thank for that. So I really wanted to let you guys know that because, I wanted to let you know that I've noticed, and I appreciate that so much. And I want you guys to know that I am also very committed to listening to what you guys have to say. And I've been noticing that you guys have been getting great value out of seeing me do stuff like this. Where I'm actually doing it real time, where I'm actually making mistakes real time. And I really want you guys to see that. And I want you guys to learn from that. And now looking at this, speaking of making mistakes, I can see a ton of things that I can fix going back into this. But, again, that's what the power of breaks can do for you. Just taking a break for even just 30 seconds, a minute, and then coming back will allow you to see the piece with new eyes. But, yeah, I just want you guys to know that I am committed to continuing with the show, and that your support and your viewership, everything, it just truly means a lot, and I appreciate you guys. So, yeah, I just want to let you guys know that. You guys are awesome, and I'm excited to get back to the studio, be back in my own element, because I feel like I'm a little bit out of my element here, but it's been a good experience trying to do the show from a different spot all over again. So, again, those of you like it, thumbs down if you don't. My name is KNKL. I'll see you guys next week back in the office. And until then, you guys take care. See ya.